How can educators intentionally craft and ask purposeful questions in a way that will increase student learning? We have already discussed why we should ask questions. Now, let's discuss how to craft them well and different ways to ask students to respond to questions you pose. When constructing questions to ask in class, you first need to know your learning outcomes. This is the specific goal of the lesson. Next, what resources you'll be using, such as a textbook, article, or website. Third, what type of activities will the student be performing? Fourth, create your questions based on advancing or assessing your students. Will these be open-ended or close-ended? Last, what ways will the students respond to your questions? Let's take a look at one example in literature class. The learning outcome is to analyze how complex characters develop over the course of a text, interact with other characters, and advance the plot or develop the theme in To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The activities in this class will be written responses, sharing with partners, then brainstorming. In this example, the questions will be: how do writers make a character seem real? What makes fictional characters seem real? What techniques do you see Lee using in her characterization of Scout? What does Lee do to make her characters believable as they move through the events of the novel? Now that we have seen carefully crafted questions, let's see how students can respond to questions and how you should respond. There is more than one way for students to respond to questions posed in class. The typical way for students to respond to a teacher's questions is verbally. But alternative response protocols can be more effective for student learning depending on your goals. First, ask students to respond to more factual questions with a clicker. After calculating the velocity, click in your answers to the nearest tenth. Next, for more complicated questions, ask students to discuss their thinking with a partner before sharing with the entire group. Partner sharing before whole group sharing gives every learner the chance to approximate a response, even if only a few will speak up to the whole group.
How does each section in the Martin Luther King Jr. speech advance his argument? First, take 2 minutes to think. Then we will discuss with your partner, and then we will take about 5 minutes to share.
You can also ask students to respond to questions in writing. Short formative assessment questions may be asked, responded to in writing, and collected to help you gauge whether or not the learners understand the content. On the board is your exit ticket. This means it needs to be completed and turned in before you leave classroom for credit. Lastly, you can ask students to access their background knowledge about a new learning topic. In this case, it may be appropriate to have the students write their thinking down, but not essential that the professor even read their responses. Now, if everyone can take out their devices, phones or computers, and please log in to respond to the following questions. What is plagiarism, and what is the protocol at the university when plagiarism is found? Tomorrow, we will discuss your answers and review the correct answers. Your answers will be collected but not graded.